Guess what time of the year it is? It is Every Bit Counts challenge time. Woo! Marley, go crazy. Go crazy. Go crazy. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the Every Bit Counts challenge? Where is it? He's gonna go find it. We're back. Thank y'all for hanging in there. I needed a break. I guess we took like a 2 or 3 week break, quite honestly. You ever just feel like sometimes your life is going just imploding? That is how I have felt over these last 3 weeks. Now, mind you, we are okay. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's okay. But it's just sometimes those stressors in life really come at you, and sometimes they come at you all at once. And we're not through it yet, but we're getting there. But I'm really excited to kick off the challenge because it's fun. And honestly, it gives me that kind of diversion and distraction, a divergence and a distraction from some of those less stressors, right? Those things that go on every day that can weigh us down, drag us down, and we need something to look forward to and pull us out. That's what this is going to be for me for the month of August. I'm hoping that is for you too. Maybe you just need a little pocket every day of a little distraction, something to motivate you, something to entertain you, whatever the case may be. Please subscribe to the channel because I am going to overload you with all kinds of wonderful ideas of foods to put up. Now, whole purpose of the challenge, if this is new to you, and it is hashtag Every Bit Counts challenge. You can follow that hashtag on Instagram and possibly even on YouTube as well. But Jessica from the Three Rivers Homestead started this challenge many years ago for her own personal benefit with her family. And I think probably either right before COVID or kind of right in the middle of COVID is when it just took off and shot up. And that's because, you know, food instability, grocery store instability, etc. And so now people are much more aware, and that is one thing I am so thankful for us as well as for society since the pandemic, is that people are a lot more aware of the fragility of our food system and being able to take a little bit more control of themselves. That's what we're doing. Every day for the month of August, we're going to put something up. That can be meal prepping and freezing. That can be dehydrating herbs. That can be fermenting salsa, which is what we're doing today. It can be canning something that either you're buying at the farmer's market, the grocery store, or a local farmer, or you're growing yourself. It could be a myriad, a variety of things. And I'm going to try to vary it through the month of August so that I'm not doing the same type of preservation method. Not all food, not all the same types of things every day, day in and day out. So today, we got to do salsa though. I have a ton of tomatoes on the counter from our garden. I've got peppers here from our garden that are, I mean, let's be real, they're not the most beautiful peppers, but they're gonna be useful. I've got onions here that I actually bought at a local farmer's market. A local farm grew these fresh onions. We're gonna use those. I've got a bulb of homegrown garlic. I have freeze-dried cilantro that I'll throw in. I think that's it, right? Peppers, tomatoes, onions, garlic. Oh, and I got a lime for some lime juice. We're just gonna chop everything up, get it into a really big bowl, and start to salt it. My goal is to do about 3 quarts worth. There is no recipe, so yeah, sorry for those of you that are gonna ask. I don't really follow recipes that much, especially with fermenting something like this. It's a little bit more of just how we want it to taste, making sure I don't get it too salty. But on average, for every quart, I'm pointing over there because my quarts are over there, for every quart of salsa, I'm gonna estimate between 2 and 3 tablespoons of salt, and I'll be using Redmond real salt. So I will probably be about 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of salt, depending on how much we get all in our bowl. We got to start chopping. I'm gonna start with these items because the tomatoes are gonna require a little bit more work with getting some of the bruises and the bad spots off. Literally just chopping. So the reason I love fermented salsa is because it lasts a really long time. Oh guys, I made fermented salsa in last year's challenge, and I still have 1 quart left in our overflow fridge in the garage. I'm gonna try to use that and eat that this month, hopefully sooner than later. It's really hard to use the salsa when you're not really buying tortilla chips. I'm not a big fan of buying them just because I don't like the way they make me feel. It's the corn, it's probably the vegetable oil, all the sodium and the salt. So I haven't quite figured out how to maneuver the same type of enjoyment with chips and salsa without the chips. But the whole point of that is I still have a quart left from last year and it's still very good. But the other reason I love it is because it truly is so different than canned salsa. I mean, it's got the fermented tang for sure. But the other thing is that it's almost like texture-wise a pico de gallo, right? Pico de gallo is a very fresh, chunky kind of salsa. And when you have canned salsa, it's a little bit more liquefied, a little bit more pureed, right? It's not, it might be chunky, but it's not going to be crunchy. And that is why I really do love doing fermented salsa, because it still gives you that pico de gallo crunch kind of fresh flavor. I'm using an entire head of garlic because, well, garlic makes everything better. But beyond taste, garlic is a medicinal powerhouse, especially when you're using it in some sort of fermented dish, right? Because fermentation automatically improves the bioavailability of a lot of the nutrients in the foods. It's actually the only food preservation method that actually enhances the nutrition of your food. And so by including garlic in your fermented foods like salsa, you are creating this delicious but nutritionally and medicinally packed punch of a snack, because garlic is antiviral, antifungal, and full of antioxidants. It's good for your heart, your cardiovascular system. It's just so good. So I'm using a full head of all the bulbs. It's up to you. Do what you would like to do. But we can never have enough garlic in this house. All right, let's get to the peppers. Now you'll see a lot of my peppers have these holes, brown spots, and it's because some sort of caterpillar was munching on it, and then the pepper started to kind of rot around where he was munching. But it may look gross, but a lot of this pepper and subsequently the others are extremely usable. So what I do is just kind of cut away the affected area, and then you're left with a very usable spot or piece. So try not to get grossed out by things like that, because you could end up wasting a lot of really good usable produce. I'm gonna be doing the challenge this year in the same way I did last year, which is I'm going to be filming every day, because the whole goal is to do something every day. And I'm gonna kind of keep a tally of everything that we're doing together so that at the end of it, like last year, we can kind of go through it. It's a really fun at the end to kind of list off everything that we did, because the whole point is like little things every day add up to really big things. And it's encouraging, it's motivating, inspiring, and it's an accomplishment that should be celebrated. So we'll do that at the end. But I'm gonna be filming every day and trying to edit, and chunk the days together in ways that make sense. I try to do it so that you're not watching, just a 5-minute video every day, but also you're not watching a 45-minute or hour video every day. I don't know who has time for that. Because I don't, but I do enjoy watching other YouTubers and other homesteaders do things. I like them in smaller, manageable chunks, and that's what I'm going to try to do for you. All right, most of these are bell peppers, like orangish bell peppers, but there's a couple here that I don't entirely remember what they are, so there may be a little heat in this salsa, which is okay for me. And if my family doesn't dig it, then it's just more for me. We still have a decent amount of salsa in our pantry that we can. So I did can some peach salsa already this year. I think I've got about 8 or 9 pints of that. I have a lot of salsa verde already canned up from this year, and I have so many more tomatillos to make into another batch. So we've got peach, salsa verde. I think I have 4 pints left of traditional salsa canned from last year. And now I'm doing the fermented salsa. My family prefers the peach more than anything. And so I don't actually think I'm going to can any traditional salsa this year. I think I'm going to do another batch of salsa verde tomatillo. We'll do that in the challenge at some point. We're going to do our fermented today, and that may be it. One of the observations that I am becoming so acutely aware of this gardening season is that it's like this big ebb and flow with this year compared to last year. And what I mean by that is that last year, as an example, I had a fantastic year with green beans, and I still have, I think, 30 quarts of green beans still canned from last year's garden in our pantry. And so I don't really need to can any more green beans. However, I was growing green beans until they got destroyed by a little critter. I think a bunny that was getting into our garden. Subsequently, I don't think the bunny or whatever the animal was is getting in anymore because the damage has stopped, and I'm very grateful for that. But I don't really have any green beans to show for this year, and I'm okay with that because I have 30 some quarts in the pantry. Okay, so another example would be the tomatillos. Last year, horrible year for tomatillos. I just didn't really have anything. So the salsa verde I had was from 2022, and we finished that a few months ago. But this year, the tomatillos are amazing. They're going fantastic. I'm growing the traditional Rio Grande, which is like the greenish, and I'm doing a yellow tomatillo, which has been really fun. And they both have just done so well. So again, it's just like ebb and flow from year to year. Last year, horrible with winter squash, horrible. And it was because I diverted from growing Masada varieties, M-O-S-C-H-A-T-A. I feel like I say that word a lot on my YouTube channel, and I probably say the word Masada more than any other YouTube channel out there. Because I feel like I say it a lot, but they are a particular variety of winter squash that the squash bugs, I can't say it's resistant, but the squash bugs just don't dig it as much. They're not really a problem. So last year I did not grow Masada varieties. I wanted to venture out and go with some of the more traditional winter squashes. And guys, it was abysmal. It was really bad. I think I had maybe 2 winter squash to put up for the winter, for the fall. And it just, obviously that didn't last long. So this year I went back to all Masadas, and I am having so much success so far. In fact, let me show you. I don't remember the variety name, but isn't it gorgeous? So I pulled this off of the vine probably a month ago, and it's been sitting in our pantry curing. I really want it to harden and cure, but it's like as big as my head. But we're having such a good year with varieties, different varieties of Masada, like butternut, tromboncino, rampiante, and this bad boy, which I don't remember the name. So last year, a bust. This year so far is showing very promising. So I share that because, you know, for the longest time, I would say to myself, okay, I need to grow and preserve enough food of what we enjoy eating and what I'm able to grow and do for about a year, to last about a year. But my mantra and thought process, and subsequently now my strategy for that, I think is gonna change to more of a 2-year cycle. I still plan on trying to grow everything I can grow every year, because I can't predict what's gonna go well and what's gonna bust. Like I would never have guessed that my summer squash this year is a bust. And my green beans, right? Those are the 2 that this year have just been pretty horrific, and it's because of the bunny. Whereas last year, again, great for both of those products, both of those vegetables. So I can't predict what's gonna go well and what's not. So I'm still gonna try to grow everything that I can. But I'm going into the gardening season now with a different mindset of really trying to prepare for at least 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, so that should something go awry and not go as planned, we're still okay. All right, all of the peppers are done. So we've got onions, peppers, garlic. Now we need to get in the tomatoes. So I've got a lot of kind of smaller cherry tomatoes, and then I've got a lot of the bigger ones. And you're gonna see some fruit flies, guys, because we've had so much rain over the past few weeks. So many of my tomatoes have been splitting, like this one. I'm just gonna throw away. And so I'm trying to manage, you know, what I can salvage, what I can keep. Like, that would have been okay if I'd used it probably sooner. And what needs to get tossed to the compost. So I'm gonna try to use some of the bad tomatoes first, right? Or the ones that will be going bad, because I want to salvage what I can. Like there's a good one as far as the rain has made them fairly unpretty. I'm gonna kind of just go through and chop all that I can chop and what I need to do. But there's these yellow ones. I think these are called Black Beauty or Blue Beauty maybe. They're from Baker Creek. I only have 2 plants of those, and they are really big producers. This is the 2nd or 3rd year I've grown them, and I love them. So for those, I'm just gonna kind of chop. Everything's gonna be roughly chopped. I do not want to mince everything and get it too fine, because that's a lot of work. And for the fermentation, you know, pico de gallo, I want it to have some texture and not be totally mushy. So a lot of these tomatoes are starting to kind of leak and weep out some gross fluids and whatnot. So I'm just going to be cutting off a lot of the mushy spots that are obviously, you know, not great. But again, don't discount the whole fruit, because there's still plenty left to be utilized. I am satisfied with what we have in our bowl so far. So I'm gonna start adding 2 tablespoons of Redmond real salt. Now guys, if you want to follow a recipe for like how much salt to use, then I would probably go by what the recommendations are when you're making sauerkraut, and that usually goes by pounds. Certain pounds of cabbage equates to, you know, however many tablespoons of salt. I personally would not go above 2.5 right now for this amount, and I don't know how much this weighs. I really do eyeball it. But you just don't want your salsa to be too salty. What the salt will do is it helps draw out some of the liquid, which will be in our jars, and helps keep everything preserved. It's almost like a salt brine. It will add flavor, but it's really the preservation method. I'm gonna go just a half more. I am also gonna add in a little ground coriander, about a tablespoon, just because personally, I think ground coriander is amazing. I just found this in my spice cabinet. What is that? I don't know. I think it's powdered leek tops, like onion tops, leeks. That's the kind of cook I am. What I was looking for was my freeze-dried cilantro, freeze-dried cilantro. I know I have some, but I think it's in a Mylar bag, so I've got to go find that. Let me just mix this up. Found it. This is from March of this year. I have found that cilantro just does not grow where we are in North Carolina in the summer. It's really kind of a fall winter crop, which is perfectly fine with me. So I can preserve it and then use it in the summer for salsas when I need it. How pretty is that? Oh my goodness. Now this is where I wish I had chips, because I could just demolish this. I love fresh salsa. Again, this is kind of pico de gallo, but it smells so good. All right, I'm gonna start putting into my quart jars. Now I am gonna push that down. I wanna get out as many air pockets as possible. And then whatever liquid is left in this bowl, I will divvy up between the 3. But the goal is to have the solids below the liquid line. That is what helps keep mold and anything else at bay. Totally forgot the lime. So I'm just gonna juice it in to each of the jars. Okay, I've got this little kind of plunger I'm gonna use to help start pushing things down, and you should start to see like kind of like liquid level coming up. But the whole goal is to really get rid of any air pockets. You don't want air pockets in any of your fermentation jars, no matter what you're fermenting. Okay, I'm gonna pour some of the liquid in as well and get a weight on, and then an airlock lid. The weight just helps keep the solids down below the liquid. All right, I've got my airlock lids. I already put the water in the water chamber. Just gonna push that in. The weight will get pushed down a little bit more also. This is a huge mess I have to clean up, but I'm going to let these ferment on the counter for probably about a week. And I cannot wait to eat what's left over. Once the fermentation process is done, about a week, I mean, it doesn't actually stop. I shouldn't say once it's done. The fermentation process doesn't stop. It will keep fermenting even after you take the airlock lid off and put on a tight lid. I recommend a plastic lid and not metal, so nothing is rusting and corroding into your food. But once you put that plastic lid on, store in your refrigerator, it will keep fermenting, but it will go at a much slower rate. The flavor will only improve with time. So I'll keep these fermenting on the counter about a week, and then we'll put a regular plastic lid on and put them in the fridge. All right, day 1 of the Everybitcounts challenge in the books. Hallelujah. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be back. See you tomorrow.